Fireball summer, honeymoon lovers, seeing no colors. Love me all summer, making discovers under your covers.
We've got an all-Netherlands matchup for you this second round. As we see the first huge throw go up into the end zone for the first goal.
Very decisive start there for the teams. We're hardly able to get our intro done before they've already tidily put one in. Yeah, both teams we're looking at here from the Netherlands. One local team, Amsterdam United Club, AUC. You'll hear them chant that a lot, I think. Against Netherlands United, or NL United. For NL United, this is their second ever game. They're quite a new team. They've had a first game, I believe, against Prima Donna, which are a team coming from the States. They've had a pretty tough game, I think, but now they're just trying to figure out how to play, what they want their systems to look like, and that sort of thing. Just getting settled into today and really finding their rhythm. But this looks to be a really great matchup between two hometown teams, or home country teams at least. So we're really excited to see how they respond. It's often hard on the first day of a tournament to kind of get fired up and get ready, particularly like there's a lot of heat here. I don't know if it's clear on the screens, but there's very little wind. The trees aren't moving. There's sort of hardly any breeze at all, but there's a lot of sunshine. So both teams are going to have to try and make sure after their first game that they're bringing the energy and the kind of the beans into the second matchup.
Yeah, managing your body is particularly important in an intense tournament like Windmill.
Yeah, lots of games over several days. Take care of yourselves out here.
AUC with an unfortunate drop early. Their pole play being pressured by NL United. They got a short field to work it up. Beautiful inside shot. Looking for a continuation, and the disc will be hit the ground before a receiver can get a chance to get their hands around it.
So we have AUC in light and NL in dark. So it's a little...
So AUC is in dark, NL in the whites.
Oh.
You can see that.
Apologies, that's correct. I think on the screens it's the wrong way around. Good eye, Christina.
And another short field opportunity reeled in just in front of the end zone. Up to him to go around, working it to the other side of the field beautifully and putting it in there, but too far.
Yeah, that was a little bit trigger happy there. The cut came a little bit too early, and instead of kind of either taking on that around early and putting it out into space, tried to take that inside shot a little bit too late for that to work. And just went behind the intended receiver for a turnover, unfortunately.
Those are the kinds of miscommunications or kind of little tweaks that you have to adjust to. And you will after knowing each other a bit better. But for this young team, you can see that those are some struggles early on. And Tekla with the defense there, I only know her first name. Only put her first name in there as well. So I'm gonna refer to her as Tekla with that D. Getting another opportunity for NL United. On the near side now, looking for a deep shot and gets it. Beautiful goal. NL United with a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, it was a really nice shot there, very well weighted. I think she took a second to just make sure that she knew what her cutter was doing, made sure that she could see that there was some separation, and although I think from this angle it looked like there were kind of two defenders chasing that down, she saw that her player had space deep and put that out really nicely in front for that score for NL United, who you might notice we're not using names and numbers much on the stream this time, which we usually like to do. Unfortunately, we don't have sort of the roster information, and as you see, NL United are a bit of a mismatch of kits. I think, as we said, this is their second game and they perhaps haven't had a chance to get their formal, slick, all unified kit together yet. So unfortunately we're not able to give the sort of player shout-outs that we would usually like to give, but seeing some lovely play from NL United, you wouldn't guess that this is their second ever game.
You can see some of them wearing international kits, so I'd guess they have some international experience, at least some players, which, you know, always makes it easier for a new team if some have experience and the others can feed off of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the second ever game does not mean this is the second time they've ever played as players, for sure. There's definitely some experienced hands on that line, and as is evidenced by a lovely pull.
AUC working it up the field, not a lot of pressure from the defense yet, but very static, stack position. High and caught. Now putting it out, what a grab with one hand. No continuation though for Clement. Oh, and a run through block. What a D there, and looks for an immediate continuation for her, and that's bookends.
Yeah, that was a great play. Love to see someone who can like really make that run through block, like that athletic play on the defense, and then just don't even take a beat. You know, they're not looking for any celebration or applause. They just leg it deep.
Yeah, I want to punch that in.
Get into an area where they can be a real threat. Don't hang around, sort of revel in their glory. Just go and do the job.
I love that cheeky look behind, like, give someone pick up that disc, I'm going to be free.
Yeah, it's a classic, and it's quite funny often when you see the disc not get picked up quickly and you see the exasperation on that person's face, but thankfully that wasn't the case. That was a great effort by NL United there. Really hot defense, really tight on AUC, not giving them much space. As we saw, they weren't able to, they got a throw off and then there wasn't a continuation cut because the defense was really stifling it. So NL United doing a great job of just keeping that heat really high, and then, yeah, taking a nice option for a really decisive point. So we've been informed that the defensive player and the goal scorer on that last point was Justina, someone we were flagged as a person to watch, and I think so far this game she's really proven that to be the case. So AUC with an unfortunate a turnover there. That throw just went a little bit short to ground before the attacker was able to get there.
Tekla with a put just in front of the end zone, and beautiful shot there into a very open person.
Netherlands United, NL United doing a great job of really just making sure that if there's a turnover, they're very quick. You know, that people are moving through, getting into space and creating options straight off of a turned over disc, and I think that's perhaps where they've got the slight edge on AUC at the moment. AUC just being that little bit slower to turnover, a little bit slower on a turnover, a little bit slower to get set on defense and to find their players, and NL United do a great job of just exploiting that, and putting in two back-to-back defensive efforts, and then turnovers and then scores.
It is very hard though to just commit a mistake, make a mistake, and then having to focus on defense right away. Like if a team can use that and exploit that, there's not a lot you can do against it.
Yeah, it's incredibly challenging. Oftentimes, just logistically, you know, you don't know where your player is. There's been a turnover. You're on offense a second to go, and then you're suddenly supposed to be marking someone, and maybe it's not clear who that is. So it is really, really challenging. But definitely AUC, that's something they can just tighten up on a little bit, and I think they'll see some great opportunities in this game. It's just a slightly high pass there, going over the heads of the players.
Another high pass, but works for NL United. They just played a bit more. They got a bit more luck, I want to say, on that high shots.
Yeah, I don't know what, I can't actually put my finger on what the difference is at the moment. I think I'm looking at AUC as they walk back to the line here, maybe seeing just like a slightly lower level of energy. And I believe that there's a timeout that's just been called, which maybe is on that point exactly. You know, looking at AUC as they walk back to the line, they just look like they're not as kind of fired up as NL United are, and I think for NL United, that's what's making the difference on some of those high shots and those things. Obviously, those throws could be tightened up a bit. We're seeing quite a few throws that aren't being executed probably exactly as they were intended. So that's of course an area that the teams can tighten up. But NL United are definitely coming down with a higher percentage of those. So I think AUC will be having a chat now to think about how they can increase their energy, how they can bring a bit more to this game and just try and set their own pace. Because at the moment, I think they're sort of not responding as well to NL United's energy and fired up and, you know, their repressive defense as they'd like to.
They definitely have had the better start, but now it's game time. They have to get their heads back in. AUC does, and NL United is going to try and stay on that float. Pretty sure.
Yeah, NL United will themselves be chatting about how to stop AUC from doing any of the things that they're discussing, how they want to do. So far, they've definitely got the momentum this game. The score is 5 points to NL United. AUC yet to score a point, yet to get on the board. It's really critical that they do that in these next few points. It's really, really hard to kind of continue that slide and to let NL United get away, increase the points gap any further than this if they want to kind of stay in with a fighting chance of bringing this game back, which I'm sure they know is within their abilities. They just need to kind of dig in that little bit more, try and find that energy from somewhere, that focus, and get fired up and come out strong at this point.
What did you say played AUC in the first round?
I heard it was Prima Donna, who I believe was is a team from the States. I actually don't have the score for that game, but I'm sure that would have been a great matchup. Looking at them now, I
bet their energy was used off quite a bit during that game as well. Trying to get back in there now with the short breaks that they have. Games are 75 minutes, and then they only have a 75-minute break until you have to go again.
Excuse me, I think it was Netherlands United that played Prima Donna. I'm not sure who AUC played in the first round. Apologies for that. So that was quite an ambitious look there from AUC, maybe just not happy with the under options and trying to put it out in front deep. You could see the thrower was perhaps a little bit unhappy with how that came out. Now NL United with the disc, moving it around the back. Oh, and an unfortunate catching error there. Just went through her hands.
In and out of her hands.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but it happens. So now AUC in with a chance again, back with the disc. Number 6 has been a key handler for AUC so far this game. Oh, big effort there, trying to keep that disc in play. You see her smile as she I think she realizes that was a little bit of a kind of a speculative attempt. Wind just picking up there. I think that maybe was a slightly less focused throw and like a little bit of a bobble on that, which meant that the NL United player was not able to catch that.
They're getting yards somehow. They're putting it into the end zone now. And it was a beautiful shot. Way to get off of that timeout with a goal, their first goal.
Yeah, a little bit messy. You know, there's still some turnovers between the timeout and the goal, but that being said, they did the job. And number 6 there, putting it down the middle really nicely. I think she saw the space. She saw that NL United was sort of perhaps trying to move into the sort of the side space, make sure that AUC were not able to hit the corner of the end zone, but actually that meant that there was just that quick space in the middle for a nice flat zippy throw to an open player. So that was really nicely executed and way to take advantage of those turns.
So AUC scoring their first goal. They actually, I looked it up and AUC played Flying Angels, fabulous, the women's side from Switzerland, 15-1. So they got quite blown up in their first game, but Fab is a long-standing program that is aspiring to go to World Championships this year, so it's okay to not challenge them.
Yeah, these first round games are often kind of slightly disparate matchups, so it's great just to be able to play against these competitive teams.
Beautiful shot into the end zone, not contested, and that was very easy for NL United.
Yeah, a little bit reminiscent of their first point there, just moving into space decisively off the pull. They know where their cut is going to be. They know where the space is, and they've got the throws to put it there. So yeah, really great play. Nice to see it. AUC did a great job on offense to really get that last point in. I think what they need to be doing now is really thinking about how to generate turns and put more pressure on the NL United side.
Yeah, if they have a zone set up, it might be a good idea to change it up a bit, the defense, and stop those initial pull plays, because NL United seems to work through those rather easily. If you stop the initial throws, even for a second, you could stifle them and put them into a handler setup.
Yeah, lots of different things they could be trying. It's always hard, like you don't know where they're at in terms of their playbook and their season and like what they've been training, so you don't know if they perhaps have some of those other looks ready to go, but of course this is the kind of place where it's great just to have a crack at it, and even if it's a defense or a new system that you haven't perhaps played that much, this is a great opportunity to try those out.
That's what tournaments are for, trying different things. And huge catch by the defense, and NL going the other way, floating one out to space, just a bit too far. Got a bit hook happy there.
Yeah, that was, there were two white shirts chasing that down. They did have some separation, but I think that was maybe a little bit tighter than it needed to be, and of course that meant she had to put it out further, and they weren't able to bring that in. So perhaps that was an option they didn't really need to take at that point, but with a score of 6-1, they're sort of probably feeling a little bit more comfortable to take those riskier shots. And now AUC seeing if they can return the favour and get some points on the board.
They had a bit of flow. It worked out pretty well for them, and now a deep shot going up into the end zone. It's going to be defended by an NL United player.
That's Justina again. That's the player that we've been sort of advised that she's going to be making some big plays.
We saw her doing that. Both sides of the disc. On the near sideline now, looking for an option, rather static position. It gets one off, and big fake there. Up the line, what a grab to keep that disc in NL possession. Tekla up the line, looking for an option, pointing for the hammer. I wish she would have put that in. Miscommunication on the reset. An injury call on AUC, the AUC side. Maybe miscommunication. Who will be opting in?
We have a player coming in now who's clearly taking their sun safety very seriously. Can barely see even a slither of skin, taking that protection protecting himself very carefully. But must be very hot.
Yeah, I bet. AUC with another opportunity. Going for the reset. Not a lot of options, but gets it to the break side and trying to get rid of that disc rather quickly and causing a bobble and then a turn.
Yeah, I think she maybe slipped slightly on her landing and was just a little bit flustered for that throw. That was unfortunate because I think those are sort of the opportunities they need to take advantage of, but here they are with another chance. Quite a speculative look there. I think maybe the defender got a hand on that, and that's why that made that curious shape.
Good defense there, to making sure to pick it up and put it into play immediately. Up the line. Over the top, rather.
But pick called.
She was suspiciously open on that one.
Yeah, suspiciously open.
Credits to Benji. Reese on that.
Suspiciously open means likely pick. Now I think they're just figuring out whether that did actually affect the play and how to resolve that call. I think just a point so far on this point, NL United have the stickiest hands I've seen, you know? Like, some of these throws are just like, the throws aren't coming out with the kind of maybe sort of pinpoint execution, but NL United just don't seem to be bothered by that and are coming down with all those catches, even when the defense is really tight on them. It's very, very impressive. And then that pick call was resolved as a score. They're saying that there may have been a pick, but actually it didn't affect that play. So in that case, suspiciously open was actually just very open. It's just credit to her for a great cut.
That works. I'm really impressed with the way they've been playing so far. What could I give? Ooh, what a nice grab there, defense.
Yeah, that was Justina. She's making some big plays, both with the disc and then up there on defense. And as we can see here, yeah, that player was in miles of space. Pick call, but actually it looked like the player's defender was able to. The player's defender wasn't part of the pick, and therefore they've resolved that didn't affect, and the disc did not need to come back. So that stands, which I believe takes it to 7-1. I think the scoreline maybe is just being updated now.
And United trying to stay on top of that momentum that they already have. It's really important, even if you're up by so many points, to keep on pushing, especially with that Swiss draw, because every single point that you make counts. But that's for both sides. The higher you win, the better your ranking will be, but the more points you score, even if you're down by many points, it will get you a slightly better position for your next game.
Yeah, absolutely. The Swiss draw format really does make every single point so critical for both teams on the field. If they're able to, even if they do lose a game, if they're able to lose by 1 point fewer, that can actually be really impactful and really important. Great job, AUC, keeping the disc there. That was a bit of a bobble and then a bit of a picked up by the wind, but unfortunately they're not able to complete the next throw.
Is that called preservation of greatness?
Something like that. We are seeing it's a little bit more gusty right now. I don't know that the players on the field have kind of fully adjusted to that yet.
It's hard to adjust mid-game too, but that's as well as you can do it. Just putting it from one side to the other side of the pitch and then finding that break-on opportunity right into the end zone.
That was a lovely pass from number 48, straight down the line there. I think it had a little bit of air bounce on it. It looked like it sort of, the disc moved in a trajectory, sort of went down at the beginning and then up at the end. But there was just enough zip on that to carry it, not bothered by the wind, not affected. Yeah, really decisive play and really great to see.
Yeah, I like the fact that NL United is not still putting pressure on and not getting their foot off that gas. The gas? Did you say that?
Yeah.
And just making points, not mistakes. There's another timeout.
AUC taking it to the shade, I think, maybe indicating their...
Might be halftime even.
Yeah, I think that actually should have been 8. That will be 8, so that's half-time. And yeah, AUC taking it over to the shade, just making sure they're taking care of themselves, getting some water on. trying to seek some brief refuge from the heat. Like I said, there is a little bit more of a breeze now. It's kind of coming sort of from camera side towards the tent that you can see in the background. But you know, it's not consistent. It's sort of a little bit gusty at the moment. It's not super strong, but it is the kind of thing that I think we saw a few throws there where it just caught them slightly off guard.
True, we saw some throws from both sides, but also players getting second efforts, trying to grab that disc later than they intended.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we've seen NL United come down with. We don't have the stats, but I would say like a much higher percentage of those.
And we'll see loads more of those high percentage catches from both sides, hopefully, as the second.
Hey, my name is Milan. I'm on my way to Poland to film EMUC with WC. I'm doing operations, driving the kits to the locations. I'm doing financial stuff. I'm doing editing, producing live productions as well for you. And with your help, we can do a better job at delegating, maybe. Or we can do a better job at providing more fields, so having more coverage. Having a person run around and film the most exciting games at each event next to the live stream. We can do that because of your help on Patreon. Get on board. Thank you.
Take that time and step up. And a huge run goes deep.
Becky has it in her cross, but it's a goal! My goodness, at least Becky, you legend!
The break side, Murphy, and then floats that one out. Huge bid, gets the touch. What a grab! DV!
So we're back here for the second half of this round 2 game here at Windmill. The sun is shining, maybe a little bit too aggressively. You know, we always pray for the sunshine, and then when it comes, we don't really know how to handle it. Lots of players got lots of wide brim hats on. You can see lots of sun cream on the sidelines. People drinking copious amounts of water.
You always have to have something to complain about.
It's
if
very
it's
true.
rainy, you want the sun. If it's sunny, you want wind. If it's windy, you.
Hey, I'm not saying I wish it weren't sunny. I'm just saying that we don't always know what's good for us when we're making our wishes. And as an English person who's prone to sunburn, as is the way of my nation, yeah, I can speak with some authority on that.
Fair enough. I got my fair share of tan lines already this season. Oh, and we got the results of current games. Round 2 of single gender Swiss draw at Windmill.
As we said before, the Swiss draw system do mean that every single point counts. It means that if you're down by 10-0, you want to get that score to 10-1. You want to get as many points on the board as possible. There's no such thing as kind of putting your head down and accepting the loss. Every single point matters, whether you are behind or ahead. You need to make sure you're scoring those points because the way that this works is that you will be rewarded for your score line, and it goes against sort of what they expected you to do and whether that you've overachieved or underachieved against expectations. So you just got to make sure that you're putting in every single point that you can. Something that AUC will be taking very seriously right now. That the scoreline currently stands 8-1 to Netherlands United. AUC coming out with the disc, hoping to be able to make an impact on that scoreline.
NL United coming out with a zony look, trying to take advantage of the wind conditions, and it looks like a 4-person cup. Loads of people around the disc pushing into the middle as AUC is throwing it over the top. What a beautiful shot that is unfortunately in and out of the hands of the receiver.
Yeah, that came in very aggressively, and she was able to get a hand to it, but not able to come down with it, unfortunately.
Players cutting each other off, and that throw just behind the receiver, giving AUC another opportunity to get that disc into the end zone. A huge hammer going up. It's going to be a bit short, but caught by Bradley. And another big shot into space. 2 defenders on it, but no one goes down with that disc.
Yeah, that was sort of a quite ambitious shot, I think. They were looking to see if they could get that into the space, and the AUC player came in quite a lot later than the defensive players, but unfortunately wasn't able to get a hand to that. AUC needing to keep the intensity, I think, that they've come out with in the second half, but perhaps take just that slightly more cautious options.
Tekla being suspiciously open in the end zone again, but that's just because she's a very quick player, pointing for that deep shot.
Yeah, that was a beautiful put by number 25. Really just saw Tekla getting open, saw the space, and was put a really, really well-weighted shot right down that far sideline to the end zone for a really comfortable score there. Tekla, I think, timed her cut really well. There were a lot of people kind of maybe a meter or two, a step or two behind her, but she just timed that well enough to have that slight separation, and has the speed to be able to kind of maintain that into that deep space to receive that really nice throw. So I think that was an excellent play by Netherlands United, and I think they're really showing that they're able to do the dump and swing, they're able to move it around the back calmly, but they're also able to take those big shots and connect in a way that, yeah, at the moment we're not seeing quite as much as that from AUC.
What I really like from both teams is that they're taking the options that are given by the defense, because as a defense you want to take away parts of, and ideally the first and second option, but you cannot take away everything. What both teams are doing really well is taking the open things, not pushing it into small windows, but using the open players, that the wind changes that a bit and adds a layer of difficulty that you can't really do anything against that, can you?
Well, I mean, there's all, as you say, like it's impossible for the defense to take everything away, so there will always be options, but it's really difficult when on the field with the disc in your hands and someone kind of shouting seconds in your face up to 10, and you know you've only got 10 of them, to really make sure that you're seeing those options and you're taking those options. As we just saw there, sometimes people look free and they're not free. That was a kind of a sort of a slightly poachy move from someone in the cup, but actually I think that was perhaps just a slightly misread by the thrower there, and unfortunately it went straight into the hands of the NL United player, who then received it immediately for the score.
I'm really impressed by the way they can switch from offense to defense in a split second. We see there. Goes to mark at first, but then positions herself very well to receive that disc and put it into the end zone immediately.
Yeah, there's a kind of I think NL United are playing with an intensity but a calmness, and that's perhaps what we're sort of not seeing as much from AUC. They've come out quite excited in the second half. They came out strong, they came out pumped, but perhaps they were then on offense taking some riskier options, just pushing it that little bit harder, not being as careful as weighted as they needed to be against this kind of competitive side who are going to put their bodies under the disc. So perhaps that they haven't quite got as well that balance of you know, that high intensity but calm and measured offense that we're seeing from this NL United side. But AUC, they're still making great plays. I mean, I think it's difficult. Like the scoreline sort of is now it's 10-1 to NL United. AUC are making good plays. They are finding good connections. I think NL United have been playing smart. It was smart to bring out a zone defense. It was smart to kind of upset them as they're trying to find their rhythm in what they've been doing so far this game. So NL United definitely playing a very smart game here, but AUC are still in this, and they're still fighting for every single point.
They definitely are. They, in my opinion, they need one player to take control a bit and be that every other option that NL United have in quite a few players, but putting it over the top of that zone. And number 6 in AUC is doing this exact thing, getting every other and managing the offense a bit more.
Yeah, she's moving that cup around. She's forcing them to go with her and create space, whether this goes to her or to another player. Number 6 really putting in a shift right now on the field.
Looking like NL United transition to matchup defense now. High stall situation, and what a grab. That inside, just putting it centimeters next to the marker into the end zone for the score.
It is a curious one. When you manage to find that person that's free in the middle of the end zone, kind of in the stack, you know, the players are marking the lanes. That's the second time they found a player who's basically been stationary in the stack, but just for the movement of the other players pulling out the defense, that individual is free. It can be quite hard. Like, throwing to a static player is pretty difficult. And I think in that case, the player was thinking, oh gosh, I'm free. There's a space on this side of the field. Perhaps I should cut into it. And was maybe just looking to start making that move, but managed to adjust and great work. Yeah, you can see her take a few steps out to the side there, thinking this is where the space is. And then at the very last minute, see that actually the disc was coming directly through the middle. And a great job to catch that, having to twist round behind her.
It's a hard throw to get off as well, as it's a break shot and you know you have a very small window to put it into.
Yeah,
everything gets hard in front of the end zone, to be fair.
Yeah, you start questioning yourself a lot more. You're like, is this the right option or am I just excited? It's like, maybe both.
Excitement is good.
Yeah, excitement's great. So the scoreline here is 10 points to 2. NL United up against AUC. Both of these teams coming from the Netherlands. AUC being an Amsterdam, a local team. NL United, a pretty new team, but of clearly very experienced players that are from all over the Netherlands. And they've come out with some pretty serious intentions to give some good fight this tournament.
But you want to perform your best when it's on your home turf. Could argue it's home turf for both of them, but AUC just a little more. Oh, and that throw just came off of her hands a bit too late. Too much angle on there. And AUC get a free opportunity to get a break on. First break of the game. Nice up the line shot and a deep shot, immediately putting it into space, and it's caught in the end zone. Nice put, what great flow on the AUC side.
That was great work. I think that might be the first clean point for AUC. So they got the turn and they put that in immediately. And that was really lovely. I think earlier in the game we mentioned that the AUC weren't really creating turns, generating turns from NL United. That has definitely shifted in the second half. We're seeing them put them under pressure, and maybe an element there might be NL United perhaps being a little bit more tired, but AUC definitely also coming out and making sure that they're putting as much pressure on as possible. And there we saw a really great illustration of that nice calm offense that is possible to deliver after a turn, but perhaps they've struggled with so far this game. But that was a really great turnaround for them. I think that was some good decision making and some really nice execution there. That deep throw is not an easy one. That was basically throwing in the same lane as the cutter. Some might argue that that's perhaps a higher risk throw, that maybe you should be sort of putting it out into the other side of the end zone. I think that it's only high risk if you're not able to deliver that throw, and I think that for that option, she executed that throw perfectly. So yeah, put it out nicely in front, and that was a lovely score for AUC.
So another opportunity on offense for NFL. NFL. Oh, no. We're not watching NFL. Definitely not. NL United. Oh, Poach D. But ruled in nicely, and a hook goes up to nobody.
A little bit of laughter on field there as the intended receiver, who clearly was expected to be going deep, turns around and is quite surprised to see that disc going up. Bit of sometimes there's miscommunications, there's nothing you can do but laugh.
That's fine, especially if you're up 10-3. I mean, it's not 100% fair, but still. AUC gets another opportunity, and NL United are in a bit of a down now after being very clinical, I might say, for the first 10 points of this.
We've got number 77 and number 6 at the back for AUC, both of whom have been really, really pivotal in the preceding points. Really important handler movement. Number 77 really making moves on defense and offense.
Oh, that around just a bit too far, and you can already see players going. Just gonna fake her back. Going for the up the line instead, just in front of the end zone, putting it in nicely.
Yeah, it was a nice defensive switch there. Number 6 recognizing that the marker, the person who got the defense was going deep, just she was better positioned for it. AUC doing a nice job there to switch to make sure that that deep threat was immediately covered and that disc couldn't go up. But unfortunately, they were just able to kind of make those last few connections. It is a bit scrappier. I think we're seeing some quite unrefined, if I dare say, dump throws, dump and swing movement. I think they are looking for it, but just on both sides. And whether that's just because the kind of the defensive pressure on those positions is increasing, I'm not sure, but definitely we're seeing quite a few turnovers and quite a few kind of scrambles to make catches on those what should be relatively easy resets. So that's something that definitely is a focus for the both defensive sides, but also something that perhaps the teams just need to like sort of take a breath and make sure that they're giving their dump plenty of time to get free, and then that dump cut has the ability to kind of move in the space, because at the moment they're sort of putting out these quite loopy, often quite high discs. That's what we saw that turnover there for AUC, and I think that's been a kind of a recurrent theme in the second half.
Definitely has. To be fair, and to kind of put the player perspective in as well, for concentrating for 45 minutes or longer is really hard, and you get tired a bit in keeping the same level of intensity and precision on throws for a whole game is something that especially newer players or players that are not used to playing in tough conditions have to learn first and really struggle with at times. Seems like blown coverage or poach somewhere on NL United. Getting AUC to advance. Very static stack. Not many options, just a bit of jiggling around. And Miss D and easily collected by the AUC player.
Yeah, that dump movement was just very close. It's really hard to get free when you're standing so close to the person with the disc. So not creating much space for themselves there. And thankfully they were able to kind of put something a little bit swirlier up that they came down with, but then not able to complete this next pass.
And a hug goes up immediately. Read very well by the AUC player. Always kept that disc in her sight.
I suspect that might have been a play of two players who have played together quite a lot, and someone who likes to go deep. You know, sometimes you see a teammate going and you're like, oh, I don't know if they're fully free, but let's just like get it down there and see what they can do. You're sort of backing your teammate.
Let's just try that.
I can't say for sure, but that just had the look of two people who've played together and know what they like to do.
I definitely agree. That was a break side huck as well, so.
Yeah, but unfortunately the defense was there.
Which puts AUC in a position of getting another shot, but this looks like a high stall throw into the hands of an L player. And L United working it up the field now. Beautiful inside shot. Way to throw your receiver open. Another inside shot with a beautiful continuation into the end zone. And that's another point for NL United.
Really nice play for NL United there. Very tight, not making the mistakes that we've spoken about in previous points, not trying to, you know, big loopy passes to the dump players. They're just sort of taking their time, making sure their cuts are very crisp, I think, in those small spaces, and they're happy, you know, once one step separation from their defender. They know where the space is, and they're putting really nice throws in there. Timeout called. AUC call a timeout. Again, probably just looking to adjust, looking to see if they can discuss energy and focus again. Perhaps they're going to reiterate some of their principles or some of their key plays. But they've done well. Like, they've had a couple of nice scores. They've had some really nice plays. There have been some greater connections in the second half. But yeah, NL United currently dominating, you know, and it's really hard to kind of come back from that position and try and keep in a game and keep your focus. But AUC now will be discussing how they can do that very thing and see if they can get some more points on the board.
Yeah, as we stress again and again, it's not important to win the game necessarily. It's important to get as many points as possible for the Swiss draw. So even getting your shit together now, scoring 2 to 3 more points, not letting NL United run you over 15 to 3, 15 to 5, something like that, will already benefit them a lot. And I'm pretty sure that's what their coaches are emphasizing now as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, you know, the win is great. The win is lovely. We're all here, you know, we always want the win. But yeah, in this case, just a few more points on the board could actually be super advantageous for AUC. So they're really needing to do that. And I think probably they're also just really wanting to play their game. I feel like they're going to be a bit frustrated. We've seen those moments of play where they've really connected nicely. They've taken good options. They've executed the throws well. So we've seen that kind of what they're able to do, and then we've sort of seen other points of the game where they perhaps haven't been able to deliver that to the same extent. So I'm sure that there's also a discussion here around like what they want to be doing and how they want to be playing, and just really trying to focus up on their own priorities and not let NL United dictate these last points of the game. Because we're now at 49, almost 50 minutes, so there isn't a huge amount of time left. So they do really, if they want to get some points on the board, it's now or never.
Oh, it always is. Now or never. Just have a limited amount of minutes to play, and you got to make the best out of it.
It's very true. Whether it's 60 minutes left or 10 minutes left or 1 minute left, that's all the time you got.
Taking a lot of time.
Arguably too much time. I don't know. How many 2-minute timeouts? Maybe. Not sure how much time's actually passed on the clock.
So you get extra time with calling the timeout after the point has been played. You just add more time to the time in between points.
Very true. So you have the time that you would allow as transition between points anyway, plus the additional 2 minutes of timeout. So actually, you're right. They must be well within their allotted time.
So we see them slowly moving off the field.
And the disc is going up. The players are still moving off the field, but no rush, no worries.
Don't know how rule that is.
So we've got a sort of poachy look up front. This is just a different kind of zone, I think.
It is 5 people around the disc, and the disc goes up into one of the 2 remaining players on the field from NL United.
I'm sure that's very gratifying when a zone like that just immediately generates the exact kind of turn that you're looking for.
Tekla screaming, yeah. So happy that a round shot got off. And the deep shot is the next to get off. And what a grab in the end zone.
81 doing a great job to position themselves there. Just made sure that she got her body in front of her defender. Went up a little bit earlier. Just made sure that she had all the time to catch that disc, making sure that there was no way that the defender could get there without moving through her. So that was a great job of boxing her out, putting her body in the way, and just making sure that that disc was going to be hers.
Look at that inside shot there. And then she's got all the time and got a great connection there. Grab. Yeah, AUC basically doing the things that a zone, like this particular zone, wants him to do. Putting it over the top, taking the risky shots instead of swinging it one side to the other.
Yeah, it's difficult to figure out a new zone at this point in the game, particularly when you've got sort of tired heads. But again, as you made the point earlier, all of these defenses, you cannot take away everything. There's always going to be some kind of option, so they really just need to make sure that they're staying nice and calm, and they're seeking out that option wherever it is. And I think in that case, unfortunately, that wasn't the one they were looking for.
So they're back with that zone. It would be too, if I were them. There's a very free player now, moving the disc to the other side of the field.
Number 6 doing a good job to recognise that zone and getting back there, not just leaving those two handlers isolated. And again, number 6 moving it, cutting into that cup, making space.
And overshooting, just a bit too happy.
Yeah, I don't know actually which player that was meant to be to, if that was meant to be a lower and more direct shot to number 22, or perhaps a higher, more loopy shot to number 14.
For me, it looked like number 22 was the intended target, but it's really hard when people are turning the back towards you to put the disc up to them.
Yeah, I think unfortunately that wasn't the option that they should have been taking at that stage. But as we said, it's hard. It's hard when you're tired, and I think that's what we've just seen in that turnover there. Some tired legs, tired throws. Perhaps not weighting that as much as should have been. But this zone is setting up again. This time AUC are ready. They've got 3 handlers back.
So it looks like they're going matchup on the second handler. A lot of people around that disc, minimizing many of those options, and that's a visionary throw into space, but just a bit over the defender. And if she might have just stood there, positioned herself and jumped up, she might have been able to get that throw, but it was always a very hard catch to make, and that's another opportunity for NL United. And
yeah, that's good. Getting that disc back. I didn't think that was the option from the throw before. I think that the handlers are quite static at the moment at the back, apart from number 6, who seems to be moving around a lot. But unfortunately, I think she's looking pretty tired after doing all that legwork. But
huge hammer gets off into nowhere.
Yeah, that's some tired decision making, I think.
She's running Haken D, which works, as there's another defense.
The hammer is a very decisive option for a sort of a Haken D attempt, but you know,
really want to play defense.
Oh, great job getting that through the middle there under pressure.
Somebody go long!
Oh, that is a missed throw out the side. And if you are in this position over the half of the field, you don't want to lose that disc here. You want to, if it's a high stall situation, you want to lose it in the end zone, your attacking end zone.
Well, we did hear from the sideline someone shout, "Someone go long!" So we think the strategy would be, you know, if you're tired, maybe just speculative hucks and see if you can come down with it. Oh, great to hold on to that number 25.
What a grab, and now throwing it into space, and that's collected just in front of the end zone. Yeah, that's a point.
That wasn't the throw 25 meant to put out, I think. She looked a bit horrified when she saw that go, but her player went and got that, no problem.
That worked.
Yeah, it's cleaned it up for her. That's what teammates do. Yeah, interesting plays from AUC. Like, as we said, we've seen some really nice movement from them, but we're now seeing some decision making that sort of just doesn't really add up. You know, they're getting those turns, and instead of sort of cherishing them and moving them as they've shown that they can do at different points in the game, we're seeing some very speculative looks, including sort of an attempt at a huge hammer. I mean, if that had gone deeper, where I think there was a player sort of trying to move a little bit deeper, but you know that we're looking for significant yards on a hammer, which is not an easy feat.
It definitely isn't, especially in that windy conditions. you don't want to. You want to put a hammer maybe downfield if you want a downwind, if you want to gain yards. But upwind hammer, I don't know a lot of people that can.
I mean, I love the confidence, you know.
Yeah,
and like the thing
definitely.
is it's the kind of thing that like you don't know if you can like do it, and if you can execute it until you try it. It might be something that, you know, I think it can be a super legitimate option. And oftentimes you're training these things, and it's just about starting to get to use them in the game. So love to see the kind of the diverse profile of different throws, that portfolio of throws that these players have and that they're able to demonstrate on the field. In that case, I don't know that it was the right option, but you know, people are just doing what they can do, taking the options they think they have, and as we always say, like from the commentary booth, our view of the field and the player on the disc is always quite different. So who knows what they were looking at? But that was a pull that's been brought in. I think this is going to be taken from the sideline. Yeah, they don't want to take it back to the brick mark because they would lose yards. So AUC taking this from the sideline. We're seeing this poachy defense again from NL, which seems to be a bit of a collision there, which can happen with sort of poachy defenses.
Yeah, both players moving into the same space and didn't see each other probably.
Yeah, the defensive player there having her back upfield but trying to move into that space. She was actually sort of poaching off of number 19, this handler, trying to make sure she's putting pressure on that space. But as number 22 came in to attack that disc, and I don't think she would have had sight of her. So I think that's a
turnover.
I'm actually maybe a little bit surprised. I felt like perhaps there might have been a call of some contact from the defensive player there, but if they've said on field that wasn't the case.
The disc is called down.
Yeah, I think that was that maybe was caught off a bounce, but sometimes in the field you don't realise that. But yeah, from our angle, that definitely looked like that was.
Really, but I've experienced of like that when you catch a disc, you definitively know whether it was up or down, and most of the times you already know in what angle you caught that disc. But
yeah, but I also do think that when it's very close, people often give themselves the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, definitely. So, a huge catch to end that game. 15-3.
15-3.
In the favor of NL United. Well-deserved win on their side. They were clinical. They did a very good job of pushing in the right time.
Yeah, great work from both sides there. I think we really saw NL coming out with a lot of energy, very athletic players. I do think also perhaps they do have also just a taller line, which you know, isn't always going to be so influential, but I do think did help them out. They've got athletic and tall players, really confident, great catches. But I think AUC really did put in some good work. They tried, their defensive effort was really good, and I think that really hottened up in that second half. We were starting to see them generating turns, and it was just sort of the heat on their defense and their calmness on offense just didn't seem able to connect in that game. But really nice moments from both sides there, and a well-spirited game, and also enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, it definitely was. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Don't go away yet. We have so much more action for you this weekend, today, tomorrow, and on Sunday. Check out all the live streams on YouTube, brought to you from Ulti TV. Yeah, see you again soon, hopefully.
Ulti.tv.